Hey, happy Friday. I told you I was going to show you better than I could tell you and be consistent. And so here I is. I didn't post last week, but that's only because I was at a workshop and so I couldn't. But I'm here today. So I hope your day is going fabulously. I hope it's off to a great start. And I'm just really thankful to be able to spend this time with you on this wonderful day. And so, yeah, on with the show, shall we? So, I wanted to talk about learning to love and forgive our former selves. I made a Facebook post for Throwback Thursday. I think at the beginning of the month. It's been about 3 weeks, I think. And I made a picture collage of myself at different stages of my life. 5, 16, 24, 30, and then 30 something, like a few years ago. So I don't know, like maybe between like maybe 35, 37, somewhere around there. And what I captioned it with is I said, I have finally learned to forgive my former self, all of my former selves. From my 5-year-old me who could never seem to please my dad, to my 16-year-old me who got pregnant and aborted my baby without telling anyone, to my 24-year-old me who married a man that I knew wasn't where it was at for me, to my 28-year-old me who became a mother without knowing how to mother and nurture herself, to my 30-year-old me who spiraled into despair and depression and considered suicide after my dad died, and to the 30-somethings-year-old me who just struggled against the current of life, just not knowing her place and trying to make things happen, and just constantly felt like a failure. And it was so cathartic, not just for me. I didn't even write it for everyone else. I wrote it for me because at the moment that I recognized that I'd forgiven myself, it just felt so freeing and so light. I just wanted to just share it. And it wound up garnering so much attention. People were inboxing me just saying, thank you so much for being authentic and sharing. And I'm always blown away by when I come and share something from my heart and it really moves and touches people. And I just felt like that was an amazing experience for me. Wow, I think, and just recognizing how freeing that was for me. Wow, how freeing can that be for all of us if we just learn to forgive ourselves for our, mistakes and missteps, and recognize that at any given moment we are operating at our maximum capacity, doing the best that we can. And I think one of the things that we do is we tend to view ourselves from a permanent space of hindsight. We use hindsight awareness to view ourselves at all times. So we're constantly operating from this, I should have known better. I could have done this, I could have done that, which is easy to say now that you have the full picture and you have the spoiler alert and know what happened. Yeah, you can easily say, I knew I should have took that right turn in Albuquerque. You can say that now, but back then you didn't know. And even if like taking my example at 24, knowing that I was standing at the altar marrying a man who just wasn't it for me. Knew it. I was under no illusions of who I was marrying. But I hoped that things would get better. Even then, I was still operating at my maximum capacity. Not so much of knowing, but of worth and capability. I was not capable at that time of marrying a man who would treat me better. My ex treated me the way I felt I needed to be treated, because that was all I felt I was worth, because I was still carrying the wound from 16-year-old me, the shame, the guilt, and all of that from getting pregnant and having an abortion and then not telling anyone. So I carried it in secret. So 24-year-old me was carrying the wound from 16-year-old me. 16-year-old me who got pregnant was carrying the wound from 5-year-old me who desperately wanted to please my dad, but couldn't because he was so hypercritical and it seemed like nothing she did could ever please him. And what 5-year-old me didn't know is that my dad at that time, I think he was about 25 then, He was operating from a space of his wound. My dad had been, when my parents got married, my dad was working for General Motors. And this was 1977. So at that time, that was, good money. He was doing good. And so, they were living comfortably. But my dad wound up getting laid off. So now you're dealing with a 25-year-old man with a wife and child who's unemployed and has no way of making a living. So he's frustrated. So he didn't have the capacity to deal with 5-year, as much as he loved his 5-year-old daughter. He didn't have the capacity to deal with her because he was so busy carrying around his shame and anger and frustration with life. And so he projected a lot of his stuff onto her, and she internalized it and carried it because that's what 5-year-olds do. Little kids don't know any better. And so she did that for years until it, each phase where I got wounded, my development got more and more arrested, and it just snowballed. So the 5-year-old me, even though I went on to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 onward, I was still in this state of arrested development. There was still that wounded 5-year-old in me. So then when the 16-year-old got pregnant, now that has snowballed on top of the 5-year-old's wound of not feeling good enough, can never please anyone. Now it's snowballed. Now the 5 and the 16-year-old have rolled into one. Now we get to 24 and we marry this man, and now it's snowballed on top of that. Now we get to 28 and we've had this baby that we don't know what we're doing. Motherhood looks nothing like what we thought, and then we realize, hold on, how can I take care of this baby when I don't even know how to take care of myself? And now it's snowball. Then we get to 30 and my dad dies, and the rug is pulling under me, and life is like, what is this? And now I'm feeling all this grief and despair, and now I want to die because I just can't deal with this anymore. And on top of that, now I feel shame and I feel weak for even having these thoughts. So it snowballs and it just keeps going. Do you see where I'm going with this? That's what we do. And underneath all of those wounds, there was this part of me that kept telling myself, you should have known better. You should have done better. You weren't good enough, because I was operating from that arrested development, that wound. And that's what we do to ourselves. And it wasn't until I don't even want to say released each one of them, because they're all very much a part of me. It wasn't until I forgave all of them and recognized what rock stars they all are. Like, think about it. They all did the best they could with what they knew. And if we stop looking at ourselves from this space of hindsight, this I know I should have known better, and look at ourselves through the eyes of compassion and love and forgiveness, and think about, my gosh, how strong and resilient I am. Think about some of your hardships. Like, think about the obstacle of 1999, whatever that was, the challenge of 2002, whatever it was for you. Like, think about that moment that you thought, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to get past. Oh my gosh, this hurts so bad. But you're here today. You made it through. And if you are going through something now, just bookmark this. And when you get past it, look back like, wow, I was going through, and look at me, now I'm through. Oh my gosh, how amazing are we? We are absolutely, utterly so powerful, so amazing. And we don't give ourselves the chance to recognize that because we're so busy holding ourselves hostage in that state of arrested development from that wound. And so with each wound, every time we get wounded, like I said, we pack it on to another wound, and we operate out of fear. And it's this space of, I don't ever want to feel that way again. I don't ever want to go through that again. I don't ever want to make those same mistakes. And all that fear does is just keep us constricted into this thing. Like, it's like when you get a sore, and what happens, after the sore, it turns into a scab. The scab, that's the healing. That's how you know it's healing. And then once it heals, it falls off. Well, the problem with us is we don't let the scab fall off. Because what happens if you pick at it and scratch at it again, guess what? It'll fall off, but now you're just reopening the wound, and it's another scab. And that's how we go through life. We just scab on top of scab on top of scab on top of scab. until before you know it, you've created this huge scab. And it's like it's infected and it's just gross and oozing and it's all messed up, and you're like, oh gosh, I don't even know. The doctor's looking at you like, oh, I don't know if we got antibiotics, ain't gonna help that. I don't know what to tell you. And that's how we are, going through life. That's how we're doing, but we're doing it to ourselves. That's abuse. You're abusing yourself. Stop, please stop, because you were just too precious, too wonderful for that. When I look back at all of my former selves, I just want to give them all great big old hugs and say thank you. Thank you to each and every one of them, because they were all so strong, so brave. I mean, each one of them could have given up at any given moment, but they never did. They kept going. They got up to see another day. And without each one of them, I wouldn't be here. I'm standing on their shoulders. And I can't do anything but be grateful for that. And you are standing on the shoulders of all of your former selves. So next time you are tempted to look back on your life and criticize yourself and go, I should have known better. I was so stupid. I was Pause for the cause and think back to like, wow, look how I didn't know. And so I made this step, and yeah, it was really uncomfortable then, but by gosh, I made it. Like The Color Purple silly when she goes, yeah, I may be poor, I'm black, hell, I may even be ugly, but dear God, I'm here. You're here. You're here. And you're here for a reason. I need you to know that. You need to know that. So forgive yourself. Forgive all of your former selves. Get out of that state of arrested development. Don't operate from your wound anymore. It's over. Let that scab heal. Let it fall off. Let the smooth skin show so you can go out, party, live, love, smile, all that good jazz. So, yeah, that's all I got. And